Let's do this, shall we? Welcome, everybody.
All right, good to go.
All right, thank you. Welcome, everybody, to the September 7th meeting of the Design Review Board. This meeting is being conducted utilizing teleconferencing and electronic means consistent with the state of California executive orders regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. Live stream and Zoom is being utilized for this meeting. In case of technical issues, meetings will be uploaded to the city website as soon as possible after the meeting. We'll be conducting today's meeting in a virtual setting using Zoom. Board members and staff are participating from remote locations. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting by using Zoom, as noted in the city's website and noted on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to speak may do so during public comment or may comment on agenda items during the discussion of each item and must be logged into Zoom to do so. Anybody using abusive, vulgar, offensive, threatening, or harassing language, personal attacks of any kind, offensive terms that target specific individuals or groups will be muted and removed from the meeting. Please do not abuse this new way of providing public comment. So on we go. John, can we get a roll call, please?
Absolutely. We'll start off with Christine Lovell.
I'm here, sorry.
Thank you. Marshall Balfe.
Hello.
Hello, there it is. Hey, Marshall.
I guess I was muted. Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you. Carrie Bush.
Here.
Melissa Hanley.
Present.
Vice Chair Lars Langberg.
Here.
And Chair Ted Luthen.
Right here.
All right, so we are all in attendance today.
Imagine that. It's been a long time. Everybody's been here. Must be the end of summer.
Yep.
All right. We have one set of minutes to approve from leftover from our March 31st. This is how long we've all been. It's been since we've all been together. From March 31st, or no, an April 6th meeting of the Design Review Board. This was our, what was the topic of conversation here? Litchfield, if I remember correctly, 911 Litchfield.
Yep.
Anybody have any comments on the minutes?
There's only 3 people at the meeting.
Yep, and I did not have any. Marshall or Christine, any comments on the minutes?
I don't have any comments.
Okay. Christine, any comments?
All good. Yeah,
All
all
good?
good.
All right, can I get a motion for approval, please?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Thank you, Marshall. We have a motion. How about a second?
I'll second it.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All in favor of approval of the minutes, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
There we go.
we approve
We
it.
have 3 ayes and a hand raised. There we go. Sorry, I should be using the tool, shouldn't I?
And I'll abstain.
All right, let's see. Got our minutes approved. That's a big accomplishment for this group.
That is.
All right. Planning Department update on matters of general interest. Anything just fun going on, John?
Yeah, so the first thing that I have is the council last night approved the final concept design for the Calder Creek Naturalization Project. So that project is in 3 different phases. The first phase is Ives Park. The second phase is kind of the downtown core connector area that merges High Street and Main Street. And then the third section is the Railroad Forest section, which is the east end of town. So the first phase was approved to start the design on that part. I know last meeting we had talked about the SDAT report that Carrie and Lars brought up. And that portion of the downtown area is, Carrie did mention that to City Council last night as part of an item that's already been seen by the city and does kind of incorporate the aspects of that project in taking the creek outside of its culvert and kind of daylighting it, and also providing some a boardwalk-esque type of feel with some construction on both sides and whatnot. So that's kind of in the process. We did submit our draft housing element update to the folks over at HCD. So we're waiting to hear back on those comments. I think we'll be getting those back within the next 30 days or so. And then we have a review period to make any adjustments to that. And I think that's it for right now. As far as project planning going out a little bit further, I do anticipate having the First Street project come back in either the first or second meeting of October. That's kind of what they are looking forward to. So when that comes in for its revision, I know we spoke about that project earlier on this year and gave them some guidance on how to revise that project. So that should be coming back here pretty soon.
Great. Yeah, it's exciting about the SDAT has resurfaced. It's all good. Any questions of staff? Christine, hand is up.
My hand is up. Okay, I have two questions. One's not for staff, but I'm starting to understand something that I find somewhat unbelievable. So I'm just going to ask you guys, with the city council elections coming up, it seems like none of the outgoing city council members are running for re-election from what I can see. Is this what you guys understand?
They're outgoing
I'm
because they're not running
curious.
for election, yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, none of them. None
That
of
is
the
true.
outgoing are running for re-election. Okay.
yeah. No, but what three outgoing have all been there for quite some time, so it's not totally surprising.
Or you could look at it as they're lifers, and it's completely surprising. But
Yeah,
okay, and I have another thing that I'd like to, that I think we should start discussing, and I'm going to just bring it up here now because I don't know where else to bring it up. But it's regarding, we're talking about doing this project down on the creek, right, and upgrading it. But what happened to the landscaping project that we spent a considerable sum of money on around City Hall? I mean, it looks terrible. The plants are all dead. There's all these weeds. There's trash in the bushes. We had a dead guy lying there for a couple days before anybody noticed. Like, what's going on there? I mean, it's a disgrace, and that's our city hall. Does anybody know what's happening with that? I think we spent $60,000 on that project.
That, Christine, I don't have any information on. That could have been something that was talked about or approved before I came on staff here. So I will reach out to Carrie and see what the update on the City Hall landscaping is.
Okay, and John, I don't expect you to know anything because it did start, I believe, before you came along. But I mean, I'm just looking at this. I see the city spent $60,000, I believe the number was, on this high-tech drip systems, and there was irrigation or water capturing, and I walked around the whole project yesterday, and like I said, it's a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. And it's our city hall. And now we're talking about doing this other project. that going to get maintained? I mean, what are we doing here? And so I'm just bringing this up to start the discussion, and I think we will be hearing more about this from me. I mean, it's so bad there that a dead guy laid there next to the building for, what was it, 2 days? Was dead next to the building. I mean, it's a disgrace, and I think we can do better than this. So I'm just bringing, hey, let's award ourselves some facade improvement funds.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's just my comment on that. It's food for thought. And it's not the last you're going to hear from me on this topic.
Okay,
Christine, the facade was improved by the Public Art Committee with a sculpture on the wall of the building. So the facade is and the facade was improved. It's different than the landscape.
Well, it looks terrible. We've got these Black Lives Matter. I don't know who is in charge of the library, but we've got these Black Lives Matter signs that are like worn out old flags falling off sideways. I mean, I don't even know what they're doing there. I mean, that's a political statement, and that has no business on a public building, but there it is. And like, I'm going to use the word again, it's disgraceful.
Mhm.
And we're running around calling ourselves these wonderful, progressive, enlightened people, and look at this. So let's get our act together on it. I'm
Okay.
starting that thought process right here, right now.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah, I do think that is often a challenge, is that there's money to make improvements, but not necessarily money to maintain things in the long term.
Mhm.
Seems to be a common song you hear played a lot.
It's everywhere, Ted. It's
Yes, yes.
everywhere.
Yeah.
So
it's
we're going to
schools
spend a ton of money on this creek thing, which I love the creek idea. Okay, but is that going to go down the same road?
Yeah.
I don't know. I see it everywhere I look all around me.
Yeah, it's a valid concern.
And so I'm starting to talk about it. And, you know, this is just me starting to talk about it. It's not like somebody come up with a solution. We
Yeah.
need to talk about it in our society everywhere.
I agree. All right. Speaking of talking about things, do we have anybody from the public who would like to talk about something else? Or did we get any notices from the public about things public comment?
I did not receive any public comment for items not on the agenda today.
Sounds good. Board members, any conflicts of interest anybody needs to know about? Seeing none, let's proceed into our regular agenda items. So first up is some facade improvement extensions for 127 North Main and 154 North Main. Could we
Yeah,
get
so
a summary on those?
Yeah, so the two extension requests are from our last facade improvement program that was done in June. Unfortunately, with the kind of going rates of material shortages and all that kind of stuff, we did get a request from both of these applicants who were awarded the facade improvement grants. They were unable to complete their project by the June 30th deadline, and thus are asking for a one-time extension to complete their programs by June 30th of 2023, which falls into that 22-23 fiscal year. The facade improvement program budget was approved by City Council in June to award an additional $20,000 for the 22-23 year. So those two extensions would be coming out of the renewed $20,000 grant. And those two programs are for Tommy Realty and then the Global Village Art Supply Store. So with that, that's all I have for the staff report. I did also include kind of a breakdown for the money allocation for the two extensions, and then also the other item that we have coming up next.
Yeah. Thank you for that, John. This seems fairly straightforward to me. Any comments from board members?
Yeah, I'm inclined to limit the extension to keep it in this fiscal year. I don't think that we should be taking money away from future applicants, and we should try to spend the money that's been allocated this year. And we all work in construction. We know what materials are. It's not going to take until next year to do these improvements. So let's put it as a December deadline and get it done this year.
Okay. Thank you for that, Melissa. Any other thoughts and comments? Not seeing any hands go up. Somebody want to throw a motion on the table for us?
So we need to open it for public comment first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry about that. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Seeing no hands going up or people waving, then we will close public comment. All right, back to where we were. Someone want to throw a motion on the table for consideration?
So I'd make a motion to deny the extension as currently proposed and to approve an extension to the end of 2022. I don't know how the proper way to do that, but that's my recommendation.
Yeah, probably approve the extension with the deadline of December 2022.
Perfect.
Are you thinking December 31st,
Sure.
end of the year?
End of year. They can do some New Year's Eve construction. Get it done.
A little midnight work for the end of the year.
Midnight work. Yeah. Yeah, that's my motion.
All right. I see a hand up, Christine.
Just to be clear, so what is the date that the applicants are trying to get to? Again?
So the facade improvement programs run on the fiscal year. So they are required by the program to finish by June 30th of 2023 for this new fiscal year. Since they were approved under the last fiscal year, obviously those funds have already been washed away. So there's no funds that we can allocate for them for the 21-22 year. So the new fund amount would be $20,000 of the fiscal year 22-23. And as Melissa had put on the motion, that rather than granting them the full fiscal year, it's to extend this deadline to December 31st of 2022.
Basically a 6-month extension. I mean, I don't want to wrap up money that other people might use this year. Like, we want lots of people to take advantage of this.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, but my question is this. There's $20,000 available for this year starting now, right?
Correct.
So these applicants are going to tap into this 20,000 regardless of whether or not their deadline is December 30th or end of next June. Is that true?
Correct.
So it doesn't really matter. They're getting their approved amount of the 20,000 that's approved for this fiscal year. Is that correct?
Correct.
So I just want to be perfectly clear on this. So we have $20,000 to hand out. We've already approved a certain amount of that money to these applicants that are asking for an extension. So whatever we have left to give out is the balance from that $20,000.
So here's the issue with that, though, is that it's a use it or lose it amount of money, as I understand it. Correct me if I'm incorrect. So we have a certain amount per fiscal year that we're allowed to give to people. Last year we had 20 grand. These folks took a portion of that allocation with their applications, which were approved. So that ate into our $20,000. They didn't use it. We lost the money to be able to give to somebody else. They're asking to use it this year. So I'm saying, get on with it, or we're going to give it to somebody else.
That's a good point. So
Now, is this how
if they don't use
it works, Don? Sorry, go ahead, Lawrence. I'm sorry.
well, so if they don't use it by December, we could allocate it to someone else. Whereas if we've lost that money, we allocated them from last year.
Yeah,
So-
we didn't carry over the money that we gave them last year. That money just poof, didn't go into our community. It just evaporated. So I don't want to see this show up in June of 23 and be like, oh gosh, they didn't do their stuff and we didn't give that money to somebody else.
Yeah, because when was this originally approved?
These were approved at our June 6th meeting, I believe. Or May 6th.
May 6th meeting. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Okay, so go ahead, Ted, I'm sorry.
no, I was just gonna say, I guess what this does is that if we approve an extension that goes all the way to the end of, all the way to June, then basically we've locked up that money. And if they still can't get their act together by June, we've designated that money to them for the entire year. So if spring rolls around and we get $20,000 worth of applicants and these people twiddle their thumbs and they don't use their money, we have to deny somebody because
There's funds being held up somewhere.
there's funds being held up by this extension. So
Okay, but there's an interesting problem here, because going on this fiscal year way of doling out this money, if you get approved, let's say it's in May, at the end of May, you have a month, and that's not reasonable.
Yeah, but then's is the rules. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. I mean,
Well, no, I'm just bringing this up as a topic of conversation, because rules can be changed, but that's problematic. I mean, I don't understand why, if we dole out the money, why we can't start with a new 20,000, like we lost the amount that we gave them now by them not using it. I mean, this is kind of a weird way to do things.
So Christine, we did recently move the deadlines up, so this doesn't happen hopefully this fiscal year. So that's a proactive, because obviously this came up with an additional one from last year. So we have moved the deadlines up further in the year so that they're not in May like they were this last fiscal year. So they're at the beginning of April, so they have a little bit more time to get those projects done.
Yeah, because I think this is something we need to consider. Like, I don't think that these two applicants that we're discussing right now, Tommy Realty and Global Village, I don't think they're going to have any problem making this December deadline, and I don't have a problem with that deadline, just to make it clear. But I see a problem with the way this is funded. If people are thinking, I'm going to do the project if I get the funding, and then we have a month or 2 months for them to do a project, that's not reasonable. So this will just keep happening. So I think that like, it looks like it's being considered. I mean, I'm happy to put the deadline for these two people because I know they're going to make it anyway. But at the end of December, I have no problem with that. But how do we keep this? Because this is ridiculous, because we just lost a bunch of money that we have designated to the fund by not having a reasonable deadline for these people to get the money from the last year. We lost, and that shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
I'm with Melissa. We want to give as much of this out as we can, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't want downtown downtown needs a lot of work. There's a lot of, facade wear and tear, let's put it this way, on Main Street.
Yeah.
So,
Totally agreed. And I guess the good news is that we didn't have to deny anybody last year because these funds were held up. But the other side of this is that the facade improvement program is becoming much more popular. People are more aware of it and utilizing it more. So I do anticipate that if the same trend holds, then this year we're going to allocate all of that money. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So
So
we have a motion. Can we have a second on the motion? Do we have a second? No, we don't yet.
No.
Oh, I'll second it.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. Any other further discussion on this? Seeing none? Oh, Christine? Yes.
tell me, just a little slow with the clicker. I just want to, this is discussion. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy to vote on this right now for this motion. But I think we need to kind of think about, or in planning, what is a reasonable time frame cutoff? Because it is hard to get, at this point in time, construction materials, to get anybody to work. There's a lot of issues. And so I just want to make sure that we do have our cutoff is reasonably planned. for the facade improvement. Like I think April's even a little shy if you're gonna have something done by the end of June. So
Dawn, what
I'm
is-
just throwing that out there.
What is the process for revising this? Is it a city council declaration? Like, how would we revise the way in which this works?
As far as the funds go, it would have to go through city council. The
Okay.
deadline dates, we are a little flexible with change. Like I said earlier, I did move those dates up earlier in the calendar year so that we don't run into this again. Because I felt that an April deadline and for a May meeting to have a project done within the next month is a little
Totally.
unrealistic.
Could it be 6 months from date of approval? I mean, that way it's not tied to the applicant's date of application. It's actually tied to when we get around to approving it.
Yeah, so the thing is, with it being tied to the fiscal year, those funds have to be rectified and done before the fiscal year kind of books are closed.
Got
in the
it.
Finance department, so it's hard to, they can't do the project beforehand and then come back and request the facade improvement program rebate. So the work has to be done and then they send in their final notice of completion. And then that's when we award the money to the applicants.
Gotcha. And right now the application deadline is rolled back to when, John?
Let me pull it up here real quick. Hold on one second.
Is there a reason we wouldn't just open it up July 1st? And like, let people continually apply?
I think it opens July 1st and then closes, close March or April. So
I
that
see.
they can then get on our agenda. It's probably take a couple weeks to get on our agenda. And then they get approval, say mid-April. Now you've got April, May, June, you got 60, 75 days to get done.
That's
Yeah,
right.
so the current agenda that I have for this year is August 15th being the first deadline for the September 7th meeting today. The next deadline is October 10th for the November 2nd meeting. January 9th deadline for the February 1st meeting, and then March 13th for the April 5th meeting. So after that April 5th meeting, they would have until June 30th to complete their project.
Forgive me for not knowing this. Can we allocate all 20 grand in September? Like, could we do it all today if we wanted to, if we had enough applications, or are we
Yeah.
restricted? Okay,
No.
so,
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's until we run out of funds, and we can't exceed those funds.
sure.
So if last year we came into a process where we had a bunch right at the end of the year, we were over the $20,000 limit and had to kind of kick one application out or, reduce the cost. So that does come up. But, the next meeting or the next deadline, we could dole out the remaining 12,500. And then the other two meetings throughout the year, we wouldn't have because we don't have any funds available anymore. If they're able to provide the proof of completion before those.
Well, then I think I'm probably a little less sympathetic to people missing deadlines. If they can wait 2 months and come up under a July meeting or a September meeting, then
We've seen one instance where we had an applicant apply and couldn't procure the door or windows that he needed in a timely fashion. That was supply chain issues. So that was sort of one issue that I can recall us sort of facing. Would there be some sort of good faith city to still, approve project, allocate funds with some?
I mean, it would seem like we should be able to pay like a certain amount on materials ordered or warehoused and not installed. I mean, we do that on projects, right? Like maybe there's a way for us to do something along those lines.
That's a possibility that we can look at. I can kind of review it a little bit more and see if.
Terry, you're totally right. Like, you could have a window take 24 weeks unexpectedly. So yeah, there totally should be some provision for that.
Been that one occurrence that I can recall in the years we've seen.
Yeah.
It's been unprecedented time, so.
Yeah.
All right. Any additional conversation? If not, let's go ahead and call a question. So we have a motion to approve the extension with a December 31st deadline. All in favor, please raise your hand, say aye.
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 I see Christine's hand up, so motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everybody. All right, get back to my agenda here so I don't lose track of where I am. Another facade improvement program item.
How
On a
fitting.
Facade improvement role. All right, so this is a new facade improvement application for Main Street. Christine, you were talking about Main Street needing work. Here we go. So John, you want to give us a quick summary?
Yeah, so this is a facade improvement request for the Lunchbox restaurant on Main Street, where the East West Cafe used to be. The total cost of the project, as noted in the application, is $3,900. The facade improvement program designates 75% of the total cost and not to exceed $2,500. Thus, the project would be eligible for its maximum $2,500 allotment. The request is for updates to the exterior facade, removing previous tenants' awning and signage, painting, some light changes, and a custom painted sign of the logo on the frontage window. I will note that Megan is here, who is the applicant. So if she has anything additional to add, or if there's any questions from the board, I'm hoping that she can answer those questions for you guys.
Sounds great. Thank you, John. Any questions of staff, board members? Seeing none. Our applicant, Megan.
Can I
Oh.
ask you a question?
Yeah,
I'm
go ahead,
sorry.
Marshall. Sorry.
When we get these facades to discuss, I notice we don't usually make too many suggestions or hardly any. Like if I don't like stark white, should I keep my mouth shut or should I say that? I think it's might be a bit, I don't want to use the word garish, but it's stark maybe is the better word. It just blasts out at you along that streetscape. And I just don't know my place, I guess.
Yeah, I think questions like that, we'll let the applicant say a few words, and that'll be a good time to ask those questions. You know, what is the color? Because I do think that is the purview of what we're here for as well. You know, what color is the white, and you know, what color is that fixture, and what, you know, those sorts of questions I think are perfectly valid.
Okay, you know, like off-white or something like that.
Yeah.
Knock it down a little.
Hi guys, this is Megan.
Hello.
Hi. So yeah, the plan was the building next door is white, so it would be kind of a similar white to that. And then the fixtures were going to be black, and then our logo is blue. So it'll be kind of a blue and white situation. And then we wanted to add some like potted flowers and potentially a bit of like wood where the bottom is where it's tile right now to kind of warm it up on it.
Like a wood plank or something like that.
Yeah, planking underneath where the tile is, so it's not just all white.
And the mural is staying, right?
The mural is staying, yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Other questions of our applicant?
Yeah, so that was my big question was how was the tile going to be treated? Was it just going to be painted white? And
At first we were looking at just painting it, but then after we kind of looked around a bit, we saw like Sonoma Pizza in Forestville has like some nice wood with their white, and it looked really nice and warm. So we were wanting to do something like that.
Yeah, thanks, Megan.
Yeah, of course.
Any other questions of our applicant? All right, anybody from the public have anything to say? Have we received anything, John?
We did not receive anything for this one, and I do not see anyone getting my attention in the gallery.
Okay. Megan, quick question. When are you planning on opening?
Mhm.
We are hoping for the end of September.
I just said,
We just got our ABC license approved and then should be having the health department come in the next like week or two.
nice. Yeah, I've seen the sign. Kept
Yeah,
wondering when that was going to happen. That's exciting.
I know, finally almost here. It was an old building.
Yeah,
So yeah, there was kind of a lot to do
yeah.
in terms of little updates. Yeah, but it's finally here.
Well, all right. Call it back to the board for deliberations. Board members, thoughts? Anybody want to go first? I'll just go around. Carrie, what do you think?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we're excited about having a new, eatery in town. It looks great. Excited. I sort of brought up of tile being painted over. I was a little nervous about that. And probably some sort of new material that's honest instead of just more brick, white on plaster. It could look less than desirable, maybe how that would wear. It's good to hear that sort of suggestion's been made. In my opinion, it might give it a little bit of warmth to the overall contrasting white that I think is next to it, and which does look really actually quite classy, even being white. So yeah, I mean, overall, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Excited to see him get some money to fix up the place.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Marshall, thoughts?
No, I was happy with the response. I wasn't aware of the effort on the tile, and I know that I was hesitant to speak up because I know white is a concept and a logo sometimes, and I don't want to mess with that, because if they're doing white everywhere they open a restaurant, I'm being optimistic. I know, but I like to see people succeed, and businesses that do all white, I'm generally all for it. I just thought in that context it might need to be knocked down a little bit, even off white, but that's not their concept. And if they are mitigating it the way that was suggested, I'm happy.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Christine, any comments?
I'm perfectly happy with everything that's there. And Megan, welcome to the downtown community. Be looking forward to having you around.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Oh, I want to say one more thing.
Sure.
I really appreciate you saving the mural. Thank you.
Oh yeah, that was important to us. We figured it's been there a long time, and yeah, we wanted to keep some of the original charm.
Lars, any comments?
I have a question. If we are we approving white painted tile or wood, or does that matter? We just have to kind of go with what Megan is suggesting, not necessarily what she's presenting.
Well, I guess we could, with our approval, I guess we could make a recommendation.
Yeah. Okay.
Put a recommendation with that.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, otherwise, I think it's great. The mural's still there, and connecting the color to the door and the logo is nice. And yeah, I think looks good to me.
All right, Melissa, any comments?
My only comment would be that I hope the white is either the same as the adjacent building or different enough to not look like a mistake. I think I would vote for the same if we can play with what's happening with Flourish. And I echo my fellow members' enthusiasm for you coming to town, Megan. This is exciting.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I definitely agree. It should be the same. Otherwise it will look like a mistake. So yeah, the same or very different. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Awesome, thanks.
Thank you so much.
And I think it's all been said, so I don't think I need to even chime in. I'm all for it. Looking forward to you opening, Megan. All right, someone
Thank
want
you.
to throw a motion on the table for us?
I'll do it. I make a motion to approve the submission with the recommendation for the wood replacement of the tile.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. We have a motion. Can we have a second?
Second.
Second,
All right, we have 2 seconds, one by Christine and one by Carrie. Any further discussion? Seeing no hands waving or up, let's go ahead and call the question. All in favor of approval, please say aye and raise your hand. Aye.
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 Seeing hands up by Christine.
Passes unanimously. Thank you, Megan.
Thank
Megan.
you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. So this brings us to our final event, 333 North Main Street. And this is something we have seen before,
It is.
or Melissa's seeing it for the first time, but the rest of us have seen it before.
Correct. So this is the Habitat for Humanity project. It's the 4-unit townhome at 333 North Main Street. This project was first reviewed as a preliminary review by the Design Review Board in November of 21 and was also reviewed by the Planning Commission in September of 21. The project was approved with a recommendation to City Council from the Planning Commission this year, June 14th of 2022, and was later approved by City Council on August 2nd of 2022. The project overall does require a couple tree removals. They are cypress trees, which are not within our protected native trees, but they do require a tree removal permit for that and a tree protection plan, which is included. The project did also take into consideration the comments that they received from your preliminary review and implemented those into the project. I will also note that I did not send out the board members the material list, but if anybody does want to see those, either I can show them, or I believe Jeff probably has a copy of that as well when they do their presentation. So with that, I will hand it over to Jeff and the Habitat group to add on to the presentation.
Sounds great. Thank you for that. Jeff, welcome.
Thank you. Pleasure to be with you this afternoon. I'm going to scramble for a second and make sure I have the material board available, and I'm going to let Steve Kent do a quick introduction while I'm doing that.
Sounds good. Thank you. Good afternoon, all. I'm Steve Kent, board member for Habitat for Humanity in Sonoma County. I'm here with our senior program lead, Wayne Kleefeld, our architect, Jeff Katz, and a couple of his team members. We're excited to have progressed to this step after receiving approval from the Planning Commission and the City Council for this project. We believe our design is well suited to the site for future low to moderate income habitat families, and that the homes will be a valuable addition to downtown Sebastopol. Working with this somewhat challenging site, we have responded to requests from neighbors, the Planning Commission, and the City Council. Our design program includes structure for future lifts and shower grab bars for aging in place, fire-resistant siding, front porches, and rear private patios, 3 bedrooms to maximize the potential family size, and a study nook and 1.5 bathrooms, drought-tolerant landscaping, a garage for each unit, a rooftop community garden above the garages, and infrastructure to support solar panels on the roof and car chargers in the garages. Ideally, solar panels will be included. As you know, it's challenging to build homes in an increasingly high cost environment while striving to keep them as affordable as possible. Material costs, labor costs, mortgage rates have all increased significantly in the last year. We expect the homes to be between 75% and 120% of AMI, depending mainly on how successful we are in obtaining grants, whether Sebastopol will still be included in the USDA eligibility map for low interest loans for the families, and the costs of construction. We appreciate the support and help we've received from the Planning Department and Planning Commission. Now I'll turn it over to Jeff and let him review our project, and we can respond to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And again, thanks everybody for the time this afternoon. So I'm assuming you can see my screen. As John and Steve both mentioned, we have been before you previously. We got some great feedback from you towards the end of last year, and we've tried to incorporate those comments into our design. I'm going to walk through this somewhat quickly. I know many of you have seen this before. Please feel free to stop me if you have any questions. But want to kind of just give you an overview of the project itself. So again, we are on North Main Street. This is a currently vacant lot. There is an apartment complex up the hill to the northeast here. As John mentioned, there are some very large trees that are on the southeast corner of this property. We have about an 8-foot grade change from corner to corner across this property. So we have some real challenges with the site. It's one of the reasons that the site has not been previously constructed on. But we think we've come up with a good solution that will benefit the community as well as create a nice street presence on North Main Street. So in terms of this diagram that you're seeing here, there's an existing access drive up to the apartments, the condos units that are above. And this is a shared driveway. There is a shared maintenance agreement for this driveway. And so the access into the garages will be off that drive. And then each of the units will front onto the street. Sorry, I'm gonna skip down a few drawings here. So we do have a grading plan that I can share in more detail with you, as well as a tentative map for this. But I wanted to kind of skip ahead here to the architectural site plan. So in this plan, again, we have the 4 garages that are off of the drive. These garages step in elevation, about a 12-inch grade change as we go up the drive. The dashed lines that you see here represent the access from each individual garage to each individual townhouse. So the ownership of the townhouse and the ownership of the garage belong to the same owner. So this garage has access through the back patio to this unit. This garage actually has direct access to unit number 1. And then the front 2 garages have access off of the street to units 3 and 4. There's an existing retaining wall along this site. There is a retaining wall easement here. We are proposing a new retaining wall along these 2 sides of the site. That's where this large tree that kind of straddles the property line needs to come out. So we are creating this retaining wall here to grade the site out. We are a couple of feet above street elevation as we come along here. As you can see, these units change in elevation from 95.5, 96, and 97. Moving on to the plans. So I'll go to a larger scale version of this in a minute, but again, you have the 4 garages, the 4 ground floor, and then the 4 upper floors of those units. So looking at the ground floor, you have steps up to a front porch. Again, this is facing Main Street. Living room, dining room, kitchen, half bath, and laundry facilities on the ground level with access out to an enclosed patio area. And then the upper floor, as you come up the stairs, there is a study nook here. And then we have 3 bedrooms and a bathroom on the upper level with the balcony facing out towards the street as well. One of the things that Steve mentioned came out of a comment from this group, I believe, last time around. And so one of the things we've done is incorporated private access up to a raised, a roof garden above the garage here. So this will be a common element for use for all of the homeowners of this complex here. And then, so that's basically the front half of these garages, these 2 garage units that you see here. And I'm happy to share the 2D elevations, but I think it's really easier to see the building in the rendered views. So just for reference, it's not loading. There we go. So this was what we had presented to you previously. We had a series of gable roofs. We were sort of matching materials and design of the units up the street. We heard pretty clearly that that wasn't the desired look for the street frontage. So we did redesign this. So again, you have a more contemporary look to these units. You've got some balconies here, the porches off of the street, and then this roof garden that you can see here over these 2 garages. And then quickly for the material board, we have horizontal fiber cement siding that we're using. And then obviously some different paint colors that are being incorporated. We do have the windows and then the cedar railings that are being incorporated as well. So if I go back to the rendered view, you can kind of see those materials in use here on the building itself. So with that, again, I have the full package of drawings that you received. I'm happy to go into more detail on any of these items, but I'm going to stop for a minute and see if you have any questions for us.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jeff. Any questions so far from board members? No, not seeing any.
I have one quick question, Jeff. This cedar is just on the railing on the roof terrace there, right?
Correct. That's the only wood element that we're incorporating there.
Right. Okay. And Steve had mentioned hopefully doing solar panels, but is it not required to do solar panels? Right.
So the requirement is to be solar ready, which we certainly will be. So there will be infrastructure in place for that. And Steve could probably speak in more detail, but really, as he alluded to, these are cost-driven projects. We're trying to keep the costs down. Obviously, there are benefits to the homeowner to have solar in terms of reducing their energy bills, but that's a trade-off that we're going to have to look at as we get further into the project. But certainly, the infrastructure will be there that could be added by the homeowner in the future as well.
I don't know. My understanding was it's required to have solar panels now, and it's even, I think, in the conditions of approval that you are. So I totally get the cost thing, and I wouldn't necessarily mandate it, but my sense is it's a requirement.
So I believe that the code going into effect in January will have different requirements. Our intent is to try and get this project in prior to that. But certainly, we're intending to comply with all conditions of approval. And it's just, trying to, as Steve said, keep the cost of the project manageable so that we can keep the costs affordable for potential homeowners.
Sure, of course. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Any other questions from board members? Go ahead, Melissa.
I'd be curious to know the details for the perforated metal that you're using on handrails.
Yeah, so it's really metal screening on these balconies that you see here, as well as around the perimeter on these balconies. On the patio areas, just trying to give some sense of privacy, but still keeping it open and airy.
But what is the material and what is the perforation
sorry.
size? And
yeah, so we don't have a good image of it here, but the intent is to use a metal with like a 1/4 inch openings in it. So it's like I would say it's probably a 50%, 40 or 50% opening on that. We're still sourcing the actual material, but it would be metal panels with a metal trim around the perimeter.
And the finish on that, will that match your metal siding, your corrugated
Yes.
zinc aluminum?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
I did have some questions about the landscaping plan, if that's
Sure.
something I can ask about. I was curious if there was any investigation into bee and butterfly friendly plantings.
Well, don't have our landscape architect here with us today. This was the preliminary plan that was put together. Certainly can follow up with them to ask some specific questions to see what can be done to make sure we're incorporating some plants that are friendly.
And then the CCNRs, will they have some sort of maintenance plan as part of this? Is that part of the HOAs contribute to maintenance? There's quite a few trees here that drop a lot of leaves that are specified. So curious how that's going to get handled in the future.
That'll have to be included somehow because it's common property and it will be the responsibility of all 4 homeowners. So, yes.
Okay.
And I see at least some of those plants that Jeff has are butterfly friendly. I'm redoing my front yard right now, and I can look at our list and make sure we add some if we need to.
Yeah, I see a couple of the sages are great, but it'd be great to even go a little further if we could do, would be awesome. And then my final comment on this front, and I'm stepping way outside my purview as an architect into the world of landscape, but planting an oak tree that close to a foundation seems risky.
And that is certainly something that we're going to have to look into, along with talking with our geotech and proximity to foundations and so on. So good comment, and something that as we refine this plant palette, we'll make sure and look at that.
Awesome, thank you. And then I just was curious about the finished material for the patio, both front porch and rear. I don't think I saw a note about what that material is.
The materials for the front porch and the rear will be concrete.
Concrete?
In the rear. Yeah, these are at grade. And then we're still working through foundation systems for the building. So this likely will be a raised foundation system with, and then we'll carry that out into the entryway and stairs.
Awesome. And are you proposing glazing in the garage doors?
I believe our intention is to incorporate small glazing in the garage doors. So it would be this upper panel would be glass.
Excellent. I'm hogging all your time. Oh, and then handrails going up the stairs, the front stairs. I didn't see any details or notations about that.
Yes, we have not detailed that all out, but I would envision those being metal railing similar to what we have around the balconies.
Okay. Awesome. You've given us a lot to respond to here. It's a really wonderful, wonderful evolution.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Questions right now, I guess. Go ahead, Carrie.
Yeah, just curious, the PG&E point of connection to maybe the utility panels and that sort of thing, will they be located in the garage or per unit, or where would that be?
We actually have started those conversations, and we think it's going to be while I would like them to be on the garage side, we think that's going to be a challenge with getting those meters sections facing this front elevation. So at this point, we believe it's more likely that they're going to be on the street side elevation, but again, we're still working with the utility to see what we can do with that.
Okay. Then trash was an issue that was brought up in the report. Do you guys have an enclosure for that, or are they going to just go in the garage as well?
Yeah, so we do not have room on site for access for a bin or for a dumpster. We've been in discussions with the provider here, and really the solution is going to be bins that each homeowner will be responsible for storing in their garage and then wheeling out to the street on trash day.
Thanks.
All right. Any other questions? Marshall, Christine?
No.
Okay.
I had one comment on the electric panels. I think we were talking about putting them on those north and south facing walls between the units so that they'd be fairly hidden. Is that right, Jeff?
Again, we're still working through with the utility providers as to where the best point of entry is going to be, but obviously trying to screen them or hide them as best we can.
Sounds good. All right. John, did we get any comments from the public, or is anyone from the public here to say something?
We did not receive any public comment on this one. I did notice it out to the Press Democrat, but per our code standards, we're not required to provide a mailed notice because it's less than 10 units and less than 10,000 square feet. But as a courtesy, we did send it out to the Press Democrat. So in that regard, I don't have any public comments. I'm not sure if there's anybody else here on the meeting who has potential comment.
Sounds good. Thank you. Anybody in our audience now have anything to say? So please raise your hand or speak up. I'm not seeing any, so we're going to close public comment and bring it back to the board for deliberations. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I did want to, so I did speak to Carrie a little bit about the trash enclosure stuff today, and we were curious as a potential design on the site plan where that retaining wall easement is located. Would there be a possibility of, constructing a trash enclosure in that space, at least for maybe a few cans for the smaller garages?
You talk about in this area here?
Correct. I know that there is some grade change there, but I'm not sure, because there's no building that's going to be constructed in that easement, but just as a potential, additional location for trash.
So our discussions with the company, they don't have any ability there to do front dump because they can't turn in there, and they would not be able with a side dump to be able to get onto the site there. So these still would have to come out to the street, and that would be bins, not a 3-yard or anything like that. So I appreciate the thought. I'm just not sure that it would get us anywhere in terms of the end result of needing to get down to the street.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, we just saw it as a potential opening.
Yep.
Yeah, well, it might also make, allow the vehicular use of the garage to be made a little bit easier if you had someplace to kind of store your bin. Give you a little more space in your garage.
It would also potentially be a challenge of people using their neighbor's bin without the
always that.
separation. So
where am I going to throw this? Good. Yeah, I get it. All right. Let's see. I'm going to bring it back to the board for deliberations. Melissa, let's start with you. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm new to this project, but I, based on the prior comments, I did look into my board members' prior comments and the prior suggestion, and I think this is an incredible evolution. I'm really excited to see this kind of modernity coming to downtown Sebastopol. I think the color scheme is really responsive, and that the kind of agrarian nod of the corrugated metal feels really appropriate. And I think might be some of the nicest habitat housing I've ever seen. So I'm a little nervous about your ability to buy this in our current market. So I guess one of my big concerns would just be about knowing what your perceived risks are to achieving this level of design based on the project parameters. That's really my only hesitation about this kind of ambitious project. But otherwise, I think it would be a really wonderful addition to the town.
Thank you for that. I agree. Let's see. Christine, any comments?
Yes, I like the project very much. I can tell from the work that we have here and the transition from the last time to this time. And I had suggested that Mr. Katz not hold back on his design concept because he thought we might approve what he had before. And I really like the roof garden, by the way. And I can see that this project has a lot of design issues and complications because of the site size and everything. And I'm completely impressed with Mr. Katz. I think he's just a great professional. And I'm totally confident that any of these little issues about the garbage cans or whatever, he's going to work out something that's going to work out well. So I'm just happy to see it. And I applaud Mr. Katz on his design work. And I'm happy to raise my hand when the moment comes.
Sounds good. Thanks, Christine. Marshall, any comments?
I very much like the new design. I really like it. And also the first thing that came into my mind, talking about the garbage, the trash, was as long as, and I know they'll work this out, but as long as the fire department can get into the rear area, I'm happy. I've done a dozen rebuilds in the Fountain Grove area, and fire is on the top of my mind every day when I leave the house. Anyway, I love the design. I won't ramble on. Thank you.
Thanks, Marshall. Carrie, thoughts?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ted. Yeah, I mean, what seemingly was a very kind of simple nod to, what was considered contextual housing, is fairly safe and simple design. Here we are, we're seeing something really quite new and unique and inventive and really a little bit progressive and bold. So I'd echo a lot of my colleagues' comments that it's a great design. Excited to see that in such a underutilized part of downtown. It's a lovely addition, and yeah, I applaud the creativity you brought to the table. So it has my my nod of approval. Although there are a couple items that may be taken under consideration, and they were already kind of brought up earlier, but the notion of sewer and water sort of penetrating from the street front to each unit, perhaps a way of looking at joint trenching the sewer and the water, because I know there'll be backflow preventers somewhere at the entry to those buildings. They'll be sticking out like sore thumbs. We wouldn't want to lose what I'm seeing as a, as a great rendering here to a lot of utilities that become, a clutter. And so that would be one comment, is to really understand kind of where the sewer will be coming from and going to. And if you can joint trench that with the water or such, may give you a little more opportunity with this planting plan that was sort of brought up, because I'm seeing a lot of big trees here that are sitting right on top of sewer and water mains. And that could be a potential problem in the future. In fact, it more than likely will, given that they're, red maples, Boreas service rooters. Also came back to that black oak and sitting there probably is, it's a great choice of a local favorite, and it's a native tree, but it's probably not the most suitable tree for that corner to anchor that corner. It probably want to move some things out of the way in due time. And then as a tree board member, we're always looking at that long-term approach. So the plant material is it's a good palette. However, it's going to have some conflict with utilities, I think, over time.
Okay.
That's pretty much about it. Other than that, I do think it's bird, butterfly, and friendly garden. Some plants are there, and they're good ones. You're trying to marry sort of low water use qualities with, with a maximum applied water rate. So I think it does that. Again, just take those comments for primarily the overstory. It's the trees, which will really. And then there's just understory, like kind of what's on the backside on top of that retaining wall. And there's some trees there, but there's really no sort of understory. There's some green wash, but there's no real plant designated for understory. So I'm going to take it as that it'd more likely be mulch. So it could be that your landscape architect look at an understory planting, something that could mitigate, erosion control a little bit better. So those are my comments. Otherwise, I'm thrilled to see this project. Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks, Kerry. Lars?
Not much to add. I think it looks great, and I remember the first meeting, and we all encouraged Jeffrey and the team to go further or be a little more inventive. And I remember your reaction was sort of surprised that we were encouraging that. So I'm glad you took it to heart and come back with a really, really great proposal. I think the trash can thing, like Carrie said about the backflow preventers, like just imagining the recycling bin that stays out there all day on trash day would just be unfortunate in this on Main Street. But somehow that solution will happen. I don't know what the neighbors behind are doing. If the garbage truck goes up there, how do they get into that site? I don't know if there's, that's informative in any way to understand that. But yeah, otherwise, I only have one little design comment, which I think the cedar railing is so great on the garden. And I'm just curious if that came into the building, like on the 2 inset patios in the middle unit, if that might be a nice tie across and warm up the middle of the facade. But that's a very minor design suggestion. I love it the way it is. So thanks. And to Melissa's point, really great package you showed us last time, this time. That's so helpful to us. And then to hear Stephen's whole presentation of, what is this? What goes into a project like this? It's hard. It's really hard. And so I wish you all the best with that. And thanks again for the presentation.
Thank you, Lars. I'm just gonna kind of agree with everything everybody said. I love the design evolution. And most of all, I love the idea that affordable housing can be stylish. And it's downtown, close to transit. It fills that gap that I've always scratched my head about. You walk by it all the time and go, it looks like a difficult place to build. But it's nice that somebody is building it and completing that part of Main Street. The rooftop garden's awesome. The tall, skinny windows in the stairwells are going to be really cool on the inside. It's just really, really thoughtful and really well done. So very happy about it. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And I do want to take a second because you all have been very complimentary of the work I've done, but I have to be honest and say the real work here has been Jeff Bosefield in my office, who has kind of led the design effort, and Sophia Conte, who is a Sebastopol native and has been very excited to work on this project. They're both here on the call, and they really deserve most of the kudos for the hard work on this. But we as a firm, we certainly appreciate that feedback.
Great. Well, thank you for your work. All right. I think we're all kind of in agreement. Someone want to throw a motion on the table?
Sure. Go ahead, Lars. You want to try that?
I will make a motion to approve the project as presented.
Pretty simple. How about a second? I see a hand up from Christine.
Christine?
Christine beat you to it. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's call the question. All in favor, please raise your hand. Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and Christine's hand is up. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you
Great.
all. Look forward to seeing that thing going up.
Ah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. What else have we got, John? Back to my agenda.
That is it for the regular agenda items. Next, we have subcommittee updates, if there are any.
Lars, any subcommittee updates? Since you are our subcommittee representative.
Two.
I'm a committee representative. No, I don't think so. Our committee didn't meet last month, so we had our opening of the community sculpture garden, which I hope you have all been walking by and enjoying. Yeah, nothing else to report on that.
Sounds good. Anybody else have anything else?
Any news on the new design review guidelines?
Yes, so we have a contract with a group. We're working through getting the first meeting set up with them, with staff. And then once that is established, I believe that's happening within the next couple weeks or so, we'll reach out to the design review subcommittee, which that's Lars and Christine here, and then Paul Fritz from our planning commission, and then Mayor Slater from the city council. And we'll go over the objective design standards as well as the SB9 rules and regulations that they're going to be helping us include, so we can update those. I have had some inquiries about what we're doing for that process. And unfortunately, all I'm saying is whatever the state guidelines are currently, because we don't have anything in place yet, but that will change here hopefully pretty soon.
Sounds good. All right, people.
Question, John.
Go,
That's a
Christine.
question. So it looks like on our design committee, we will be losing Mayor Slater. So how does that affect us? How long, I presume once you meet with the consultants, there'll be some time frame, and there probably won't be much action on our part in the near future. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that will work, if we'll meet with him before he departs from the city council. And then if that role will be replaced if there's a spot for it. I'll have to double check with Carrie on how that'll play out. So thank you for bringing that up, because I didn't even take that into consideration.
TBD.
Yeah. All right, anything else, people?
Yeah.
If not,
No, I think our next meeting is September 21st, and that is going to be our walking tour of the Barlow project. So I think did we agree on 2:30 for that tour? Or was it 4 p.m.? I'll have to go back and check the minutes, but
3. I think we agreed on 3.
on 3?
2:30.
I have 2:30.
30.
Yeah,
2:30.
That's what I have.
3:30. I think it was 3:30.
2:30.
2:30.
30.
Maybe we ought to meet at city council, have a look at that landscape first.
Like a
Wow.
shovel and
It's
some
bad.
rake.
It's bad. I expect another dead body soon in the condition it's in.
Oh, no.
Hope not. So we're meeting at 2:30 somewhere at a location to be determined.
We're meeting at the big sign.
Oh, right.
Barlow
Yeah.
sign, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, just
Front of
outside the community market.
Got it. Yep, perfect. Awesome.
Yep, and then as I mentioned earlier, hopefully with either the first or second meeting of October, we'll have that First Street project back in your hands, and we'll also have,
Forward to that.
hoping to have another sign exception coming up here pretty soon for the Caliber collision spot on Moore Street.
Hmm.
So those two, I will attempt to get in the same meeting. I know the First Street one is probably gonna be a little long, but we'll see how that goes.
That's right. We can handle a long meeting, once a year.
Let's see. Yeah, that's it.
Sounds good. Well, thanks, everybody.
Last Peace Town, everybody.
Peace
Yeah,
town.
peace down.
Last one.
Last one.
See you in 2 weeks.
Go get it while you can.
Be there.
See you there. Poor man's whiskey. Adios.
Bye.
All right, guys, have a good one. Thank you.
Bye all.